Mr. Bratton,
Present.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Mellis,
Present.
Ms. Parker.
Okay, follow.
For
Let's do the pledge of allegiance.
on the flag again.
Oh!
We will
We'll just pretend.
do the pledge of allegiance and.
We'll fake the bulldog.
There we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sure. Approval of agenda. Well, we do need to change on page 3. After 9A, there needs to be a voting line. Then we have 10 as a voting line.
Page 3,
Page 3.
after 9A.
I don't know of anything else. Does anybody else have something that needs changed? We have an addendum.
We do have an addendum. And, got an addendum, what, 7C? We'll need to add 4 and 5. And then we have an addition at 9C, 11. And I think that is it. Everybody good with those?
Okay. Any discussion? Have a motion to approve the agenda? Yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Mellis.
Yes. Approve the minutes of the July 16th, 2018 meeting. Are there any changes to those minutes that need to be? I looked them over, I didn't see anything. That doesn't mean I didn't miss something. Anybody have anything to detract or add?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good too.
I looked over, I thought they were okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve then?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abbott,
Yes.
Mr. Bratton,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Staying.
and Mr. Mellis.
Yes. Public participation, curriculum updates and preliminary state report data.
I have a handout for you. It's right on PowerPoint. Your older announcers.
You're gonna have to, are you gonna take a half hour like the?
No, I am not.
Like the IT, oh,
I'm going to try to keep it within, 10 minutes.
that'd be great.
Well, I think I gave you 2.
Thanks.
Okay, so each year when I report in August, I try to do like a top 10 list and just do a bird's eye view. Like I said, trying to streamline it and make it a little more simplistic. The first thing I want to share with you, just to jump right in, is our preliminary report card results. This time of year in the summer, we started to get a first look at how we did and fared. I know Mr. Hahn has shared some of the results with you, but I'm just going to go into it a little bit more. The preliminary results show in June the 21 tested areas that we took tests on in the spring of 2018. This chart shows that how we fared on those 21 indicators. The first chart shows how Fairfield County school districts did. And Blue Carroll, once again, we do really well on the achievement test compared, well, really well with 9 as well. In terms of how others, it's a very challenging measure. You can see across the state, other districts did slide down. New Albany was the outlier with 19, but the state down at the bottom, I showed that the state of Ohio themselves did not meet any indicators on the report card. So it's a measure that they have set up by design, but that gives you a look at how we did. But then they take these results and they put it into many formulas to produce our local report card. So the next page over breaks down what our letter grades will look like, possibly here in September. I did provide for you the last 2 years prior to this year, so you can see the trends that we have in our report card. The components are achievement, so that measures the state test that we just did. Gap closing, we stayed pretty consistent from last year, and that measures English and math. K-3 literacy is a measure that does not measure all students in grades K-3, just kids that are off track, and it shows the progress we made to get them on track. Progress is a value-added measure. Prepare for Success is our high school measure and graduation rate. This year is the first year that we're going to have an overall letter grade on the report card. So the slide 3 shows you the percentages that each of those components will have on the report card. So achievement and gap closing will have the most measure, and the other 4 will have 15%. So we will know in September how we did on the report card in terms of a letter grade.
But you don't have any ideas about the progress and preparing
The
for
progress right now is not reported. There's a portal that we can go in and look at for the data, and it's not in there yet, the progress measure. It's usually the last thing that comes in, but the Prepare for Success as well is not complete. So I checked it again today to see. It looks like on the Prepare for Success, we may be getting a D again. And what's interesting with that measure, the high school measure, is that we just received the U.S. News and World Report as a silver award for our high school. And it looks at data in ACT, graduation rate, and performance on your state assessments. And we got that award. But in the state award, they look at ACT, but it's more along the lines of participation rate and not performance. So even though they're looking from the same thread of data, they just look at a different vein of it. So, but any questions over the report card? We'll know in September more how we did, but the district typically does very well in terms of comparison in Fairfield County. The next slide, or number 4, is our academic plan. We are looking to do an academic plan for the district. We do now have a new mission statement and vision statement, and we have our guiding principles, which is really nice for all of us to have as a guide. So along with that, we're going to take what we have as the principles for teaching and learning and create an academic plan for the district. That will be goals around curriculum instruction, student achievement, fostering a forward-thinking learning community, and professional development. So we're going to get the teachers involved in creating this academic plan and set some goals and action steps around that to drive the district forward in student achievement and growth. Next is a slide I just wanted to share with you the process of how we do adopt the instructional materials into the district. We do have a process that we go through. This shows the cycle at which we process and review materials. So this year, for 2018-19, we will be implementing the new ELA materials that we adopted for high school. And in terms of reviewing, it's a year that there's no content area that's up on the cycle. It's a year that we're just letting everything rest, settle, and let it just be. It's a good place to be at, actually. Everything that we've purchased the last few years is now aligned to the new standards, and we just want to let those things settle in and adjust with those. So that's the process for adopting the any instructional materials. Professional development, I did list the days that we have for professional development on our calendar. We are very thankful, I'll speak on behalf of the teachers, that we did get 2 extra days of professional development on our calendar. That is just a great thing for our district to put a value on allowing our teachers time to grow as professionals. Not every district does provide that time, so I do thank you on behalf of the staff for giving us 2 extra days for that. On August 13th is our back to school initiatives. PD, it's just about 2 hours. On September 24th, there's our countywide professional development day that we have here. Several of you have been to that, was here last year. So we're happy to host that again. I did get confirmed today that the state superintendent will be here doing our opening keynote. So we're excited to have him here. So if you're available that day, you have to come in and be inspired by Apollo. Then the November 25th is a day that we're going to set aside for safety day training and get our new resource officer involved. February 15th and April 23rd we'll just get on district initiatives. You have heard about class lengths. I know at the last update from Mr. Thomas, but I too just wanted to say thank you for that purchase. That's going to make things much easier in terms of accessing the resources that we have for our students online. There's no more no more password, long list of passwords. But the one thing that I like in addition to is if you have a 4th grade student and they log into the Bulldog portal, they will only see the icons that their student, that they have at their grade level. That way, you won't have a long list that you may not even be using. The other benefit is the analytics behind that program that we can evaluate the usage of the programs we have. Next, in terms of communications, we are going to continue our video series that we do. That went really well last year in terms of the levy campaign. We'll do updates with Mr. Hahn. We've already filmed one, and we'll get that out this week. A little welcome back video. And we hope to do other videos that highlight our programs and district initiatives and try to get more students involved. Our monthly newsletter, I added that in here as communication. That's the e-newsletter that we send out. Try to do it once a month. It goes out to over 3,000 contacts. Mostly those are parents that we just pull from our final forms, our high school students, but then also anyone that has signed up to receive our newsletter. Our newsletter did receive an award from OHSPRA, which was a Mark of Excellence Award, and that was really nice, being that it was up against newsletters from around Central Ohio.
Real quick on that
Yes.
communications. In regards to outreach for non-parents of the community, what's our, I know with the levy and everything like that, we did a great job, door to doors, and seeing, what's going on with that. In a way to keep them informed of what's going on with the building and everything around that. How are we gonna go about that? You guys thought about a strategy at all, keeping the non?
Yes.
Still connected, yes.
Jody and I, we really started working on this last year, and from January through May, it got bumped back a little bit. But one thing that we really wanted to do, and she's getting to it next year, is a quality profile. And, everybody kind of reads the newspapers about the state report cards. The districts go so much deeper than just what's in a state report card. And one thing that we have in our principles that we want to do is communicate with all groups within the Bloomfield community, just not millennials or 20s and 30-year-olds that are connected to the electronic resources. But, it takes a little bit of an investment, because to do a district mailer, to send something to every resident, in our school district, we're talking, over 3,000 households. It can cost us thousands of dollars to do that, so there's a balance. But we just did a Bulldog bulletin with some back-to-school information, kind of a welcome back letter. We're going to be working on a quality profile that we hope to get out kind of towards the end of the first quarter, so it'll be late October, early November. That will address a lot of different areas that Jody's going to go into, maybe touch on in just a minute. That really talks about, programs, students in our district, where we're headed, what we've been doing, a financial picture of the district, and that'll go to just not parents, but that's a mailer that also goes out to every house in our school district. And then we want to follow that up at the end of the year with like another update. So 3 times a year, and we'll spend about $4,000 to do that with printing and mailing. And it's just something that you do have to invest a little bit in to make sure that you're keeping those groups informed. Jody,
Right.
you can touch
Well,
on
that's
that.
exactly it. That's
Absolutely, because I think with our overall, goals and what we had stated when we wanted to have this, the different phases within the facilities. I would just hate for us to be silent for, a year and a half,
Right.
and then everything, and then it's like, hey, you guys are coming back for more money.
right.
So I guess
Right.
that's my point.
And that's
Keep
exactly
them
it.
informed, keep them updated, what we're doing and how it's going. I just think communication's key. And
Exactly.
if we can do that with some of the, non-parents and, citizens around the community, I think it will help us out, further down the line, just keep them updated.
Some of the things Jody and I have kind of outlined, we talked about, academic opportunities, what we value in terms of teaching, performance, not only these state assessments, but national standardized tests, co-curricular and extracurricular clubs and sports at all the different buildings, what we offer for kids to get involved with. We talked about the arts, visual arts, performing arts, facilities, updates as we continue through the next couple of years. Finances, Travis will, have financial updates that a couple times a year that we can continue to share and put into graphs and charts, 5-year forecast information. Then we talk about curriculum, innovation, technology implementation within the district, parent community involvement and engagement, outreach from the school district. So those are some of the areas that we were talking about.
Is there a time have you decided on the time when you're gonna put this out?
We hope for late October, November. Yeah.
So we're working
Gonna
on
put a
that.
It's
reminder
about
in.
an 8-page kind of.
Yeah, it'll be 8 to 12 pages.
Would you put a reminder in about the, what's it called? I think it's like the Bulldog
Oh, yeah, well, that touches on that too.
Yeah,
District
that's the
showcase
last
and
thing.
stuff.
But with the quality, so that was called the quality profile, that was slide 9 here. That we do wanna get that out in the hands of everyone in the community that is a good comprehensive look at our district. But we will have a printed copy and then as well as a digital copy that'll be on our website. But then lastly is the, district showcase, and I think that just is the final slide, it's towards the end of the year, and that's that night of celebration of all the great things we've done throughout the year. It's one of my favorite nights. And I love the theme of honoring our past, preparing our future. And it does invite in those of the past that has, alumni and, people that have worked here that's really contributed to the culture of Bloom Carroll. So that is, something you can mark the calendar for. And
Well, then Joe won't be allowed to come that night then.
pardon?
Joe won't be allowed to come that night.
I didn't graduate.
Yeah, no, anyone. So basically, though, that's it. So
Football
I don't know if you have
championship.
any questions or? But thank you for all your support throughout the year on behalf of all the staff. We really appreciate all you're doing.
And all your hard work.
The local report card on the front, so basically we're third behind New Orleans and Dublin.
Well, out of what we have seen, yes. Most of the
That's pretty good.
districts, yes.
We're spending a lot more per pupil than we are.
They do. You know, it's really tough. Ohio has an interesting setup right now. I mean, for the state of Ohio to say that on average all their public schools are failing, I don't know if I really believe that. To have 0 out of 21 indicators met on state averages across the state, I think they really have to look at what they're valuing to really assess schools, because I see a lot of good things going on here and in other school districts. We are starting to see a little bit more of a gap. I mean, we are doing well. You can see some districts, the next closest one, we know for a fact is 3 below us in terms of the number of indicators met. New Albany did very well, Dublin is solid, but after that, the data we have, I mean, this is where we are, so we would like to meet 21 out of 21 indicators, but I just think the system right now is
Rigged.
really interesting.
It changes every, 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah.
And that's part of it. They
Change
change
as well.
the marks that we're trying to meet and meet the challenges.
I just want to say, Jody, I mean, nobody's really here tonight, a couple of people, we don't have a huge crowd, but,
It's not standing room only.
Yeah, it's not like we have 40 people here tonight, but just for what the board needs to know, Jody does a tremendous job working with all of our staff. She has high energy, she works unbelievably hard, she's dedicated, she's resourceful, and she's passionate about, I think, working for this district and education. And in terms of, we've really been able to connect different groups, administrators, teachers, to really get our message out there through the electronic resources and other things. But communication has dramatically improved in the district, large part because of her efforts. And we are on track, I think, with the curriculum. So I just want you guys to know that she has a huge commitment to the district, and is a main reason why we've been able to communicate and do so well. So just what the board needs to know, there you go.
Well, and I was thinking too, that I came in to talk to Jody, like, I don't know, a few months after my first board meeting, and I would bet you that from that time to this, how many things have changed
Oh, yeah.
with testing, et cetera. Everything you told me about, but yes.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay, next we have number 7, we have trade. Would you have anybody else for participation?
No.
Number 7 is treasurer's report, recommendation and report.
Thank you. Item 7A is approve the July financial statements. Total expense for the month, $10,179,728.34. Of that, a little over $7.5 million in the consortium expenses. Page 13 on the electronic copy, the executive summary on the hard copy, second page in on the hard copy. Really, the only thing that we can really gauge from July, just due to the timing and the new month of the fiscal year, is the first income tax collection. I've got a breakdown in there that you've kind of seen now a couple times. This would be the April through June collection. The amount collected was 3.8% higher than the same collection during the prior year, or 2.46% higher. So almost $45,000 to the good in terms of our SM2, the green report, where you can see, as opposed to a comparison this year to last year, you can see a comparison, probably a more important comparison, what was the collection versus what was the forecasted amount. So off to a good start there. Again, I know I went over this before, but you can see the 3 components. individuals who only file and pay their taxes once a year, the School District 100 form, the current withholdings, WH, SD 101 and 141, which is really the most important indicator with current growth, and then those individuals making estimated payments, the ES form. You can see how those grew from the prior year to give us our gross total 3.84%. Expenses, it's almost not worth putting it together right now. There's so many moving parts in July with curriculum purchases, technology, our buses, the wish list. It's really not comparable until we get through August and sometimes even September to see where we are. In September, you will officially approve the first budget. So you'll have the wish list, you'll have the 3 new positions, all the new salary schedules that you've already approved, but it all culminates in you officially approving the budget in September, which you must do by law by September 30th. So I just take the patience on that, just in terms of trying to compare expenditures right now, really is an exercise in futility. So with the September report as well, we will have the updated enrollment for the new year. So obviously here with school starting, we're gonna have a lot of things to add into your report for next month for board information. Any questions on the July financial statements or the checks written during the month?
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, seeing none, 1A, is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Item B is approve the allocation of the FY 2019 IDEA B funds. It's an acronym for Individuals with Disability Education Act. That's a special needs grant. By law, due to the amount of the federal allocation of this grant, by law, the board must publicly adopt the budget for it, even though you're going to adopt it with the appropriations up in September. They must be adopted separately. Probably way more information than you wanted, but it's just the template that we use for the IDEA budget on page 29, electronic copy. We do pay 3 staff members directly from this grant. Doesn't mean if the grant goes away, these individuals are going away. That's not how it's funded. It's just the positions are funded currently by the grant, so it has no bearing on these jobs. Speech services, as you can see, intervention at the levels of K-12 and also intervention specialists at the high school level. We also do allocate there toward the bottom quite a few student aids that we pay through the Educational Service Center. And also we do set aside some for curriculum that might become necessary through the ever-changing IEP process. It's just it's a difficult thing to predict. So certainly we have some money that we set aside. And then even with that, we've got almost $27,000 that we still have not allocated, but that's fine. That's normal this time of year. You are permitted to carry over IDEA funds from year to year. So again, just requesting board approval on the FY19 IDEA allocation.
Is there a motion to approve? I'll second this one. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Item C, recognize the following donations to Bloom Care Local School District: Charles and Diana Eversole, Jerry Detweiler, and Thomas Griffin, all BC Athletic Fund in the memory of Harold Miller. And then from your addendum, we have added items 4 and 5, Mary Haley and Susan Ingmeyer, both contributing also BC Athletic Fund in the honor of Eddie Fell, was added again on the addendum. So again, obviously appreciative of the kind generations of these individuals.
Was there any questions about C and the addendum? If not, is there a motion to approve? So moved. Thank you. Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
And finally, not an action voting item, but certainly want to update you. Certainly, Mr. Hahn, jump in if you would like, on the sale of the bonds, which we conducted on July 31st, almost a week ago, Tuesday. Page 29, 30, and 31 in your electronic packet. Again, not trying to over inundate you with a lot of numbers and detail from the bond sale, but we thought that these 3 pages really painted the true picture of how the bond sale was conducted and how it was completed. Obviously, we have $30 million worth of principal outstanding that you can see again on that first page. Those were the various coupons that we sold. Obviously, the longer the maturities, the higher interest that we're paying back. A lot of these bonds were sold at a premium. So if you look at $630,000 worth of bonds, the investor might have paid $639,000. So the coupon isn't the true yield. You amortize out the capitalized interest, and the yield might be 3.54% or something to that effect. So
that's the whole 20 years?
No. The maximum, if you remember, from the ballot issue was 37 years. So you can see there in 11-1 of 55, we do have a 37-year bond out there that we joked about how old we would be at that point. Would not be around to be writing that check. But I think one thing to keep in mind if you look at this amortization schedule is we did as well as we could while staying in our millage limit, which is 4.3 mils to. If you look at the 11-1-2040 and the 11-1-2041 bonds, we tried to shorten those maturities. Obviously, the quicker you pay off the principal, the less interest you're going to pay over the life of the bond. So we did make a concerted effort to shorten some of those larger maturities as much as we could. Again, we're dealing with millage constraints, but the second page is really the main statistic, in my opinion. I guess it's the 8th line down, that basically when you put all this together, you put all the maturities, all the interest rates, all the premiums, our all-in true interest cost, or AIC, is 3.9, we'll just round it, 3.95%. We had estimated on about 5%, so certainly we've stayed within those constraints. And again, to kind of reiterate what we were saying, the weighted average maturity down there toward the bottom is just over 20.5 years. So again, we had the ability to go out 37 based on the ballot language, but we shortened a lot of those maturities as much as we could. And the final page is you had already approved these contracts, but again, full disclosure, certainly there's costs in issuing bonds, and these were the costs that will be paid again out of the premiums generated by the bonds. So there's nothing out of pocket. It's nothing out of the 30 million. It's out of the premiums that we sold above and beyond 30 million that we are paying these costs eventually.
So where is that in the hard copy, Travis?
It would be after the IDEA packet. It's not within the financial statement.
Keep going. Oh, it's not in the financial package?
No.
Okay. So I didn't get it then.
Yeah, you should have gotten it. Is it on the table of contents?
Okay, never mind. I know I read it home.
The last page is the underwriter, Robert W. Baird, their cost 4%, 0.4% per $1,000 of bond issued. So that was their rate for underwriting. The bonds, the closing date is August 28th. So we will literally receive all 30 million on the morning of August 28th. Be running off and run from there.
I didn't pay attention as I should have. On C1, we probably should have a voting on there also. For me. First substitute was. Or just abstain.
Just abstain.
The whole deal, that's fine. Only have 3 yes. Okay, old business.
Any questions about the bonds or anything? So moving on to
Old business. That's not about me, Joe.
It's you. Old business.
That's not me, though.
Sure, so that's.
Oh, you mean go through these? Yes,
Yeah.
I can do that. Approve the following policies: evaluation of professional staff, dealing with criminal records check. Another one, 2, dealing with evaluation of professional staff. 6, suspension and termination of professional staff. 7, career technical education. 8, college credit plus. 9, college credit plus. Something came up about that at the OSBA, I think I attended on the weekend, by the way. 13, admission of exchange students, student suspension, emergency removal of students, and student expulsion. We had some things about that at the OSBA also. So, are there any questions about those? So there could be a motion to approve. I'll go ahead and make the motion since I was involved in that.
I will second that.
I was gonna wonder about it. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mellis?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the second. Was I? Okay. Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Superintendent's recommendation.
All right, so 9A, just a few things I want to keep you up to speed on here. The back-to-school dates, you're all welcome and invited on Monday, August 13th. We have our district breakfast. If you can stop by, talk to a few people that I know you're all busy after work and things. I know Mark is going to be here. He's going to make a few comments, so you're on the
Very few,
agenda.
very few.
Yeah, but that'll start at 7:30 in the middle school cafeteria, and then at 8:10 we will go into the auditorium, and there's a few things that we need to go over. So if you can make it, you're welcome. I don't feel like you have to. Mark will be here to say a few things to the district staff as the board president. Just so you know, August 10th, our new staff members, our new certified teachers are coming back. We kind of have a series of things where they get to know key personnel, get their accounts, that kind of stuff. On the 10th, so the new staff members will be here that day. Just want to acknowledge, obviously, we kind of had a staple of the community. Mr. Harold Miller passed away recently. He was 92 years old, former Boone Carroll teacher and coach and board member. A lot of people know him as the owner of Pine Hill and have no idea that he ever worked for the school district. But please just keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. And what else? The Capital Conference, if you get anything or hear about other board members talking about the Fall Capital Conference with OSBA, we have a conflict that night. We don't have any groups being recognized or any board member for longevity or anything being recognized on September 19th, but we have a planning session conflict. So
You might have one.
yeah, I think we're going to. I was going to kind of update you on that too. And then the high school roof, just so you know, as you're pulling in, you're probably still looking at it, wondering what's going on as we all worry with the weather, how things are going to turn out. But just so you know, I think we're in good shape. I talked to the project manager. The tear off and replacement has been done. They're gonna, at this point, they're starting to do some of the finish work, and they're doing the copings or the trim around the sides, the overlay around the edge of the roof. The group has been, it's been a good group to work with. Hash Construction had the job. They've done a very good job, and have put in the hours they needed to, despite the rain that has bumped them on certain days. So they will be finished by this coming Friday. And then they have Carlisle scheduled to do the inspection on the 13th. But again, they're just pretty much down to some final, the final kind of punch items that they have to go through. So high school roof, I think we're going to be okay. I gave you a few handouts. I'm not going to go through all of it, and it'll look much prettier on our website, but I guess I kind of give you a packet. It's going to be kind of an update on the facilities planning on our website. If you're ever on our district homepage, there's a tab for facilities and ballot. That's just going to change to facilities planning, and then they can find access about issue 3, all the other campaign communication about the needs of the district that we had out there will be a separate page now, and then we will have content providing updates with the facility planning process and the different phases the district has been through, and kind of a quick history that would involve the assessment phase, the options phase, and then the decision phase where we got to the ballot. And then now that we passed the issue, we will have a link for the design phase overview. It talks about the 4-stage process, which involves a programming stage, a schematic design development, and the construction document phase. We're getting ready to embark on the programming phase in late August through October, and then after we get the CMR hired, they will have a reconciliation phase in each phase. The school board will approve each phase of the design process. So we will have to bring the programming phase to the board for approval, then the schematic design, then the design development, and the construction documents. I'll talk more about that design process in just a second. I gave you a graphic that includes the design phase timeline for the new K-5 elementary school, showing, August through October for programming, schematic, November through January, design development, February through May, and then the construction documents from June through August next summer. We will have an early site package where some dirt work is being moved in July of next summer. If the weather and the design process stays on schedule, they'll kind of get the pad ready before the actual construction documents are finalized, but they'll be doing some prep work to get the site ready starting in July is the tentative construction timeline, which takes me to the next page, the tentative construction timeline. In July, again, the early site package at Carroll Eastern. November of 2019, you're looking at construction starting for a good 14 months. That's the typical time frame for this many square feet in an elementary building. Takes us to January of 21. March 2021, substantial completion would be done in January 21. The punch list and the commissioning would be done in March of 21. We would then have April and May to get it ready. We'd have that summer to get it ready to start in August of 21 with the new building. So from May of 2018 through March of 2021, that's a 34-month process. Compared to other projects around, it's an aggressive schedule. Our architect and I believe the construction management firms that have submitted their qualifications and the ones that we shortlist to submit their proposals, this is very, very doable. To some people it may seem long, but we're being aggressive. We have a design schedule set up, and that kind of takes me to the last part. I have one more page there in that packet, but then on this document here it says construction and design committees. Just so everybody's on the board's on the same page, we have a CMR, or construction manager at risk, which is our project delivery method, evaluation committee, or a selection team to pick our construction manager. This Wednesday we'll be meeting at 1 o'clock. Committee, superintendent, treasurer, a couple board members from facility management, maintenance supervisor, shore architects in an advisory role, just to give some input. But then we will do the RFP to get the proposals out, or we'll send the request for proposals on the 9th. And then the 16th, we have a meeting at 8:30, like pre-proposal meetings with the firms. And then on the 30th, we will meet with them individually as well. In September, we will bring the best value firm to the board to approve that they're the best value firm, and then we will basically approve that we can enter into the negotiation or agreement phase to develop an agreement with the construction manager. And from there, in October, the board will be asked to officially approve an agreement with the construction management firm. So then, we have an executive, or what's sometimes called a core committee. They will meet, probably twice a month throughout the project, and I mean just not during the design phase, but throughout the project. Get updates from the construction superintendent, but that'll involve a couple board members from facility management, myself, Travis, maintenance supervisor, our OSCC regional planning consultant, design and architect and engineering professionals, and then the construction manager will be involved in that process. We will also have a building design committee. They will actively participate. This is what's actually starting real soon. We have dates and times, but they will represent different groups from the staff, certified staff, classified staff, community members. They will make recommendations to the executive committee. And again, we're going to start with the programming phase and then schematic design phase, which basically runs us through December, and then we'll come up with some dates for the design development phase as well. But the programming stage, you see the dates there, August 29th, September 11th, October 9th, schematic design, October 24th, November 7th, November 28th. Board members, different than the executive or core committee, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Bratton will be serving on that. Myself, Travis, maintenance supervisor, two principals from our elementary schools, regular education teachers representing K1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, intervention specialists. The arts will be represented. We will have staff representatives that will include the library or media specialist, the building secretary, special education director, curriculum director, director of instructional technology, community members, multiple community members will be involved on the design committee, and then our construction manager. We have over 23, 24 people involved in that. We will have community design meetings halfway through every design phase, the 4 phases. We will have meetings. The first ones are scheduled for September 26th. This will be mass communicated in the Blue Carroll Auditorium at 6 p.m. The schematic design will be November 14th. The community forum will be in the auditorium at 6 p.m. And then we will come up with a date probably in February or March, early March, for the design development phase where we have a community and staff forum. We will also have focus groups when we get to specific areas. Maybe we're looking at the kitchen. We will have the food service supervisor and some staff members involved as a focus group, looking at the kitchen design or special education classrooms, gymnasium and office space, those kinds of things. So that's a little bit about the construction and design committees. That information will also be on our website as the last link. It talks about the focus groups, the staff community involvement, and the community meetings. So we should be able to go active with that tomorrow night.
So this entire portion will be on the website?
No, not in those dates. Those dates will be the process about the different, the executive committee, the design committee, that information will be on there. Focus groups and community forums, that stuff will be on there as well.
You don't need Mark.
I just think, in terms of the design,
Oh, okay.
Updating the facilities page, that
Oh, okay.
Mark and I are trying to get it updated for tomorrow night. I've given them
Okay.
all the content. And then the last phase has Shore Architects on, or the last page has Shore Architects and CDA, the Community Design Alliance. These are the meeting dates for the programming stage, schematic design stages. And again, this is from the design committee, not the executive committee. This is kind of a combination of, you see the design meetings, the community forum on there, and then when we bring that phase to the school board, October 15th, we'll bring the programming stage, and then the schematic design we will bring to the board on December 10th, is the proposed schedule. So, any questions about that?
The only thing that I don't think you said was that this building was like 38 or 39 months.
Yeah, it
When we
was
started
in November of 2009, and then moved in January of 2013. So that's about a 38-month process, and the punch list and commissioning went on into the fall of 2013. So as frustrating as it may seem for people, like they want it there right now, I mean, it's an aggressive time schedule, but in comparison to some other projects, I mean, you don't want to rush it to the point that you have some major mistakes because of it. So.
The company that did this is no longer really doing a whole lot of these things.
Yeah, they did not submit a qualifications, yeah. So, okay. I think that's it. Moving on to B, nothing under students and programs. C, personnel and employment. Approved substitute list number 1 for August 2018 as submitted by the Fairfield County Educational Service Center. Number 2, approved the rehiring of Carol Black, previously retired Blue Carroll employee as a social studies teacher at the middle school at step 5 with a master's degree for the 18-19 school year, effective August 13th, 2018. Number 3, approved the employment of Corey Moore as a math teacher at the middle school on an initial sequence 1-year limited contract at step 10 with a master's degree for the 18-19 school year, pending timely receipt of verifications and background checks effective August 13th, 2018. And that is to fill the vacancy created by the transfer of General McKinney from the middle school to the high school. Number 4, approve the employment of E. Christopher DeKay as a study hall monitor at the middle school on a 1-year limited contract in step 15 for the 18-19 school year to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Janelle Kaufman. Number 5, approve the following classified substitutes for the 18-19 school year. Tanya Bushy and Terrence Wackhammer, both as cooks. Number 6, approve the employment of Jason Wright as a summer custodian effective July 31st, 2018. Number 7, approve the following athletic supplemental contracts for the 18-19 school year pending timely receipt of all verifications and background checks. And that would be Greg Booth as a varsity assistant girls basketball coach. He's a teacher and has been a varsity coach at Sheridan. Also does some AAU coaching. Number 8, approve the following athletic department volunteers for the 18-19 school year, pending timely receipt of all verifications and background checks for Zachary Longstrip, For football, in number 9, approve the following volunteers for the 18-19 school year pending successful background check results. Those would be Group A volunteers with background checks on file. And we have a vote. Yeah.
So any questions about 1 through 9A? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Abstain.
Okay, and 9C10, approve the employment of Linda Millis as a long-term substitute teacher for Pamela Angber at the middle school effective August 13, 2018 through approximately September 19, 2018. And from your addendum, 9C11, approve the employment of Pamela Burgow Hart as a long-term substitute teacher for Taylor Mavis at the primary school effective on or about September 10th, 2018 through approximately December 7th, 2018 with 2 additional days for shadowing prior to September 10th.
Any questions there?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Abstain.
And B, under contracts and agreements, approve an agreement of employment services with New Horizon Mental Health Services for the 18-19 school year to provide early mental health intervention services for a total sum of $1,400 to be paid quarterly. This is the overwhelming, over 80% of this is actually paid for by Adam H. in the county and the United Way grants as well. Something we have done for the last several years. It's called a Signs of Suicide program. It talks about identification, screenings. Parents do have options to not have their children participate if they don't want to. A letter goes out and parents have a permission slip that they need to return and they can opt out of that. But it's one of those things where, you know, I haven't ever met 100% consensus. Some people feel like it's something you should do. Some people feel like you should not. But if you ever have something happen and you don't try to provide support for a student that has some depression, and something happens, then we're gonna wish we had done something. So parents at least have the option.
What age?
It's 8th grade,
8th grade.
yeah.
It's funny to see these, it's a paper in there, 17 to 20 years old, and it said, you know, died suddenly, and then contacted your apples, the car.
I think it's,
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So,
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
nothing under other and nothing under F, personnel, resignation and retirements. And back to Mark with new business.
New business, send a delegate or alternate to represent the board at the annual business meeting of the Ohio School Boards Association on November 12th, 2018 at 2:30 p.m. at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. I believe we've usually designated Mr. Bingham to do that, have we not?
Yeah.
I can't do this. No.
Oh, you can't do this?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Because there can, it has to be the school board members.
Oh, okay.
I looked into it.
I thought this was the one.
That's
Yeah.
that's public records.
I don't have a problem doing it because I'm taking off. What date was that again?
12.
It's
12.
November 12th.
Yeah.
Rod, just so you know, I'm sorry, I guess we gotta get a recommendation first and then an alternate, so. Make a recommendation for Mr. Rod Johnson.
That sounds good. I'll second that.
And we need an alternate.
Alternate. I can do the alternate.
Make a second recommendation, Mr. Martino.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Just so you know, there will be a briefing on the 12th at 8 a.m. I didn't know if you caught that or not. It's just not at 2:30, but they usually try to update you on issues. That's on the 12th at down there at the convention center, room 120.
That's would do a pretty good job at that meeting with the legislators. That's what I was getting at.
While we're there, I'm gonna do business though real quick in regards to the annual conference for the OSBA. Any thoughts on what you guys want to do around that? I mean, I'm the liaison. I was actually planning on attending it.
I usually go.
Yeah, so you want to go with anyone?
Yeah, I can.
Maybe have Jennifer, I know she registers.
Yes.
On the one on the 12th, though, do I have to register? I know there was a form we have to fill in.
We'll
Travis
take
has
care of
to
that.
take it.
Yeah, I'll sign it and Jennifer sends it in.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're go to board reports and information, Board of Education liaison updates, facility management. Let's be finding out more on Wednesday, right, Joe?
Yes.
2, personnel leave and management. Don't have anything, Joe? OSBA representative, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, just looking forward to the 12th on that, and then on the annual conference, which Mark will attend with me, and we'll get some good chicken.
Yeah, it probably will be, it could probably be rubber on, so. Use it as a gag of some. Safety, health, and wellness, and finance. I did attend the OSBA thing you voted not to go to, and Mr. Johnson also signed in on. It was interesting, there was only one thing, there was another retired teacher there, and there was one thing about collective bargaining. He and I really didn't like, so out of the 30 minutes, he wants to go. I really need a straight answer on, are you just coming out blankly and saying you're against collective bargaining? Because I thought, it's really good for both sides, because I saw some things at Grove where I didn't see happen here. And some things that happened here in the past with other boards that were the reason they didn't get this passed.
I got a real quick question, I'm going back to the policy real quick, Mark.
Sure.
Sean, Travis, any idea when we might have other
We
meetings?
should get the new OSBA PDQ here probably in the next week.
Yeah.
I would guess. And
Okay.
we'll see what's all involved with this issue. And then, probably late August or early, right after Labor Day, we'll probably need to get policy meeting.
Yeah, let's do that, because I know everybody's got everything going on.
Yeah.
With all this, just pick the committee, so we'll get that out, just send it out so we can plan out.
Okay.
And we've got upcoming PTO booster and Board of Education meeting, so the 8/13 is the initial day where you'll be speaking, I'll be saying very low.
Yeah. Well.
And that's the breakfast at what, 8 a.m.?
The breakfast on the 13th starts at 7:30 in the morning.
Just to clarify, Mr. Mills won't be speaking on my behalf.
Sort of, kind of.
That's up to you guys.
But all I'm gonna say is you do a great job, and keep up the good work, and good luck in the future.
We'll put him
That'll
on-
be about all I have to say.
Put him on 7-second delay.
Yeah, you can do that.
Exactly. With one of these other dates, right now, I hate to do this to you, but I just don't want to say that we're not keeping you informed. The August 15th meeting right now, we're gonna keep that meeting. Sometimes at this time of year, there's not a lot of discussion in your planning sessions. However, with where we are with the facilities planning, it's going to focus on that, and we're probably gonna have Tony come in, maybe the engineer that works closely with him, or a couple engineers, which would be a civil engineer and a mechanical engineer, come in, talk a little bit about, we started some surveying. They started doing some surveying last week, getting some topographic maps that they're generating on the 53-acre site. We'll be talking about soil testing, additional testing, traffic studies, utility services, the programming phase and the schematic design phase, and the involvement of our CMR that we end up selecting in this early process. So that Tony's going to present on that as the plan at this time. So we are planning on meeting. Okay. And then the Board of Education meeting on the 10th. We do have another planning session in September 19th. There's a couple things we'll probably be doing. What we're thinking about is, since we have to approve the best value firm at the September 10th board meeting, once we do that, we'll start the negotiation or agreement process that you will eventually approve in October, hopefully, October 15th. But with that planning session being on the 19th, we would like to be able to have that construction management firm come in and share a little bit with the board about their qualifications, who they're submitting, as assigned to the project, and kind of so you guys know what construction management firm we're looking at before we actually bring it to you. Okay. So that's it for date updates, I guess.
And athletic boosters at 7 on the 10th, and music boosters at 6:30. Subject to change, we'll have to find out. Yes?
Good question.
Good question.
It's September.
Yeah, intermediate.
It is at the intermediate. It is at the intermediate. details.
All
Okay, moving on to, is there any other business to come before the board? Questions, discussion? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bratton?
Yes.
Mr. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes. Under an hour, but some of these planning sessions, I'm sure will be much longer.
Now,
But they need to be, they need to be.